Newton's law of gravitation enabled observers to calculate the forces operating between two or more particles given their mass and position. Pierre-Simon Laplace, the early 19th century French mathematician, assumed that any other forces must be similar and that there must be some finite number of quantitative physical laws enabling calculation under any given circumstances. This represented a strictly deterministic and mechanistic vision of the universe. It saw the universe, in other words, as a machine. The 20th century physicist David Bohm described this vision as the notion that the universe can, quote, be reduced completely and perfectly to nothing more than consequences of the operation of an absolute and final set of purely quantitative laws determining the behavior of a few kinds of basic entities or variables, end quote. But what about brains and minds in a world with no place for non-physical causes? In the Laplacian universe, the physical world is closed. What happens is wholly determined by physical forces operating on physical objects in accordance with quantitative physical laws. According to David Hodgson, some people still see this view as obviously true. They believe that if non-physical causes like the mind or mental events could affect physical things, then the laws of physics would be violated. A logical consequence of this comprehensive mechanistic determinism was the doctrine of epiphenomenalism. According to this, mind, consciousness, and apparent mental causation can be legitimately reduced to mere byproducts of the real physical processes which are actually responsible for causing the phenomena we observe. In other words, no non-physical phenomena can have causal effects. Two theorists produce vivid metaphors to illustrate this supposed state of affairs. William James likened the mind and consciousness to a walking man's shadow. It always accompanies the man's actions, but clearly the shadow has no causal effects on his behavior. Thomas Huxley referred to a steam train's whistle to make the same point. The noise is certainly produced by the engine, but the sound of the whistle has no effects on the engine's functioning and performance. However, we must emphasize that all of these views of the world are simply assumptions. They are not empirically testable. They are not products of applying the scientific method, but rather simply assumptions that guide its application. This applies particularly to the hardline position that the world is exclusively governed by a limited number of mechanical deterministic laws, and that consequently mind and consciousness have to be regarded as epiphenomenal. According to B. Alan Wallace, in addition to Newtonian physics, the roots of this machine universe view of the world can be traced to monotheistic creator God theology. The idea here is that this theology relegates matter to the role of dead and passive components in the machine of the universe. Matter reacts only when acted on by external forces. In this monotheistic vision, all the energy and creativity in the universe arises originally from God. When science finally eliminated God from this vision, all that was left was the mechanistic, deterministic part.